Welcome to Rock You Like a Hurricane Runner, presented by KillYourStereo.com. You're with Simon and Owen, and we're doing something a little bit different again this week.
Yes, I think this is we're revisiting another format of episode, I believe.
Yeah.
We're
going back to putting the spotlight on one band. We're going to run through their history, run through their career, their highs, their lows, and then touch on their link to wrestling.
Yes.
Because, of course, we have to pick a band that has something to do
but I
with
feel
the
like
world
this
of
band
wrestling.
has a fair bit of link. When you look into it, it has a pretty decent link to wrestling. They have a pretty decent link to wrestling, which is very cool.
Especially to modern wrestling fans.
Over the past 15 years, definitely, yeah.
I feel through wrestling they've gained more fans, but I also think that, people might have been interested in the wrestlers they've provided music for.
And who is that band we're talking about?
The band this week that we're taking a look at is Killswitch Engage.
Probably one of the bands that got me into metalcore. I think got a lot of people into metalcore. I've loved this band for, 10, 12 years now, I think. Very, a long time.
Yeah, the crazy thing is they've been around for about 20 years. They are
20 years next year, yeah.
They're a legacy band now. And I think to a lot of people, when you think metalcore, the sound is Killswitch Engage.
And no matter what sound, because they did go through a distinct sound change.
A little bit, they did.
And we'll get into that.
We will get into that. But musically and how songs are structured, the foundation of, I guess, what most people would consider metalcore was built basically by Killswitch Engage.
Absolutely. So yeah, let's get into it. Killswitch Engage are formed in Westfield, Massachusetts in 1999 after the disbanding of two bands, Aftershock and Overcast, two very generic metal band names.
Absolutely, but that was the time. It was the late 90s. I guess you had to have names like that.
Yeah, you really did, didn't you? So the original lineup actually featured Adam D on drums and not guitar, which I didn't know about until I kind of looked into it recently.
I remember hearing that. He's sort of a multi-talented guy. He's known now for his production as well, and his singing.
Absolutely. And so their first album was released in 2000, and it was called Killswitch Engage. It was their first self-titled, which we'll get into that later on. And the first song they ever wrote together was called Soilborn.
What's interesting, I think for a lot of people, they would assume Killswitch Engage's first album is Alive or Just Breathing.
Yeah.
That's where it really sort of kicks off.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
This wasn't on a major label, though.
No, it wasn't. So with this album, it was released through Ferret Music, who were at the time were a massive influencer in post-hardcore, metalcore in America. They had bands like Killswitch Engage, obviously, 36 Crazy Fists, Madball as well, a whole bunch of really important American hardcore bands. But they were actually signed on a one-record deal due to the fact that the bass player of Killswitch Engage, Mike D'Antoni, he actually illustrated a lot of the album covers for albums that were released through Ferret Music. So it was kind of like a buddy deal that they had going on.
That's kind of cool. It's like, all right, fine, we'll let you do it. And basically from there, it all kicks off.
It really does.
But you can even hear it here. This album is basically,
It is the precursor of the Killswitch sound.
Yeah, and it's almost, again, like we said, it's 20 years old, but it still sounds modern.
Yeah, it does.
I won't name names and shame bands, but there are still bands who come out now with their debut album, and it still sounds like this.
It just sounds like Killswitch Engage,
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Thousands of nameless...
Dude, I remember, especially where I live in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, in 2007, 8, 9, and 10... Every local band was a Killswitch Engage cover band. It was the greatest. It was the greatest time in local Melbourne music.
Yeah, so it was sort of set there. And in terms of songwriting, I think especially with Jesse in the band, it's always been sort of like a positive message. And
yeah, well, the thing is, this album was actually written with no vocals in mind. Well, they had, obviously, there was vocals. They wanted vocals, but there was no vocals at the time. And so Jesse actually joined because the band that he was in at the time was signed to Adam D's brother's record label. And then he heard the sound, he liked what he heard, then he joined Killswitch Engage not long after a lot of these songs were written.
And laid down his vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very, very cool.
And I think if people don't know, just a little fun thing where the name comes from an episode of The X-Files.
Yes.
I remember hearing that,
Yeah.
and I still think that's funny.
It is
but
very
it is
cool.
such a cool name. So the name, yeah.
See, this is like straight up just like a tweaked version of American, like 90s American metal.
Yeah. But it wasn't really the trend yet. I feel like they almost made it the trend. I think the trend in terms of mainstream metal was still new metal.
Well, it's funny
was
how
still the tail end.
Well, it's funny how people kind of like go, "Oh yeah, Lamb of God," were like the current, like they were the godfathers of the current American metal. They didn't. They were formed not long. Like, well, Lamb of God got big kind of around the same time as Killswitch did.
Yeah, well, and if you want to separate them and say, well, Lamb of God are heavier or whatever label you want to put on them, in terms of making it mainstream and then becoming a trend, I think a lot of that credit does go to Killswitch Engage.
Absolutely. Moving forward, so that album did some great things for them. So it actually got them signed to Roadrunner Records, and then in 2002, Killswitch Engage released an album that I love, I know you love, and it's pretty much one of their most beloved albums, Alive or Just Breathing, and it features probably one of my favorites, like intros to any song. So this is Numbered Days, the first song off of Alive or Just Breathing. Perfect way to start an album, I think. Now, last year, I was there, and I know you were there. It was before we even met, but that last year in Australia did the 15-year anniversary tour of this album. Played from start to finish.
Yeah, a very important album, I guess, and the fact that they can still play it now 15 years later. There wasn't a part of that show where you're like, get to the next song.
Yeah,
all sounds great.
I wanted this show to last forever. It was the coolest gig I think I've been to in such a long time. So yeah, this album was the first to feature the last album to feature Adam D on drums, which is quite interesting because when you see him play this live, he just it looks like he is like his album on guitar. But it was the last one he played drums on. Obviously the first album released on Roadrunner Records. It was a huge success. It scored a 5-star rating in the Kerrang magazine when it was first reviewed, which is huge.
Well, I guess when it came out, it's like, yeah, they did have an album before it, but this is the sound polished. It's the sound sort of like refined and perfected.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think like every Killswitch album has been recorded and produced by Adam D. And a lot of the time when you like hear out, like especially like first or second albums that are recorded and produced by a band member, it's kind of like not the most polished audio, but this is incredible audio.
Yep.
So as I said, it kicks off with my favorite like songs or intros to a song. During the writing process of this album, the original guitarist Pete Cortez left the band, and Adam D moved to guitar because this album needed to be played with two guitars. And then they had a brief fill-in drummer for the whole touring process of the album. This album actually features two re-recorded versions of songs from the first album. Mm-hmm. So it features Temple from the Within, sorry. So this bad boy, fucking love this song.
It's a good one.
So that was originally off of the first album, and then V-Day Infra, which those songs were back to back. Actually, the first two songs off of the original self-titled album, and then V-Day Infra.
This is a great song though.
Every song on this album, this album, what I love, like you have songs like Temple from the Within, which starts really like slow and like kind of like very like doom metally, and then this one's like full like proper like just old school hardcore vibe.
But then with the production of how clean everything sounds, that's what makes it a modern metalcore album.
Yep.
That's basically what it was.
And first wrestling link we have on this album, the song Fixation on the Darkness, which I love. It was a wrestling entrance theme song.
Ooh, this is a good one. I don't know this. Tell me, whose was it?
It was used briefly. Well, not briefly. It was used by a wrestler named Tyler Black or Seth Rollins.
Oh, I didn't realize.
FIP, which was Full Impact Pro Wrestling. They were kind of like the feet in the mid-thousands. They were like the feeder company to Ring of Honor.
Yep.
So this was his entrance song for FIP Wrestling.
Look, no knock on Tyler Black, Seth Rollins. We love him. This is a great song. It's like one of the best songs on it.
Yeah.
To me, if you're going to use any song on this album for a wrestling song, it's got to be Life to Lifeless. It's the most obvious, like... How would you not pick this?
True.
I went through, like... I remember on the Xbox, on the WWE Raw game, you could pick your own music. It would let you rip it from a CD.
Yep.
First choice, I was like, well, it
was
has
it
to
really?
be this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Because that intro is so great.
And when it kicks in here...
Yeah, it almost has a second, hook.
Yeah, no.
Come on.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Yeah.
If I ever find myself wrestling... This is the shit.
It's like, this is one of the best songs because, like, as catchy as the intro is, and then that riff, then the chorus kicks in, and you see Jesse's great, clean singing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
very cool. And I guess we better not gloss over it. This song had this album had the first Killswitch song that really showed their versatility, being.
Yeah, My Last Serenade. I will say about the song, I do love it. It is, a modern metal classic. The problem with it is it became such a sort of crossover hit that I feel like them and a whole generation of bands were sort of, you had to make this song.
Yep.
And they've always done it. There's one of these songs on all their albums, but so many other bands, you could tell they're like, oh, you're trying to have your own.
You're trying to have your last serenade, yeah.
Because this was a hit,
I'll never forget, at the show last year when they play this. It's really funny though, when bands go, we're gonna strictly play this album from track 1 through to track whatever, and when the biggest song on the album is track 4, and you're this is sick, and the crowd just lose their mind.
But what's great about it is that playing it in sequence, you do get the biggest hit 4 songs in, but you don't lose the crowd the next song because the next song is
Life to Lifeless.
So you're like, oh, okay, we still got you.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, as I said, definitely one of my favourite shows from last year.
And this song though is basically the formula of an early 2000s metalcore hit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Slow start, aggressive verses, clean chorus.
Yeah, so good.
And yeah, I feel like for a few years Killswitch were sort of stuck in the formula. But they do it better than anyone.
Yeah. And that formula, I guess now's the right time to start talking about that formula, was pretty set in stone, because not long after Alive or Just Breathing was released, Jesse Leach sent the band an email to say that he wanted to quit the band.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting way to quit a band, especially of how popular they were so quickly. But that is when they found Howard Jones with the band Blood Has Been Shed. And his first performance with the band was at Hellfest in 2002. And they spent the rest of 2003 writing, and then in 2004 they released an album that was probably one that everyone knows. Not their biggest album, but definitely their top 3 biggest albums. This, and that album is The End of Heartache. Now, this album, interestingly enough, peaked at number 21 on the Billboard charts, which is huge.
Massive.
It went number 39 on the ARIA charts in Australia.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought it would have charted here in Australia.
In that time as well. 2004 wasn't a very big metal time in Australia.
Yeah, we were coming off the tail end of, bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn were big a few years before that.
Yeah.
And we had our own knockoffs like 28 Days and whoever else.
And Grinspoon. Grinspoon was still huge 2004.
And they were pretty heavy early on, especially. But that's been the thing about metalcore. It's weird. I guess it would have kicked off with Killswitch, but it's always been a pretty big genre here in Australia.
Yeah, but
bands will chart without being played on the radio. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got bands like Parkway Drive, Polaris, Stone Sour recently, all going top of the chart.
Northlane always have had a few hits now,
and smaller bands like Alpha Wolf and Justice of the Dam reaching top 40.
It's crazy,
which is wild. But yeah, back to this. This album was huge, actually massive. It was nominated for the Best Rock Metal Album in Grammys in 2005. Also, this chorus is just the fucking sickest. As much as you... Because I know you're not the biggest Howard Jones guy, his choruses were huge.
This is sort of where I think a lot of fans are divided with Killswitch. Musically, they were always solid, always good. This album, musically, is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Adam D's guitar work with the other guys in the band, like, it's crazy. I don't love Howard's over-singing.
Okay. That's fair enough. I can see that, but I'm a huge Howard Jones guy.
He's obviously, like, technically very good. I just feel like he took both extremes too far.
Okay.
His harsh vocals are harsher than Jesse's, and his clean singing is, like, way too over the top. But you're right. As a song, though, it's a fucking great song.
I think everyone knows, like, obviously, this is the tune, the title track of this song. And this is, again... So, before we get into the wrestling side, this song was massive. Again, huge. It was like the main song for Resident Evil Apocalypse. It was a pretty big movie in 2004, 2005. But I feel like a lot of people will know it. Tyler Black actually used this very, very briefly on the independent circuit of wrestling. Mm-hmm. But I feel like everyone will know this if you're a wrestling fan, because Roderick Strong would use this forever as his entrance song in Ring of Honor, a lot of the independents, and it's the name of his fucking finisher.
Yeah, I was going to say, so like fans who only know him from NXT and they're like, End of Heartache, that's a weird name for a move, comes from this song.
Yeah, so that it's like a vertical suplex into a double knee backbreaker.
Yeah.
It is dope. But like, yeah, so that's where he got the name of the finisher from. It's such a grouse song. I remember watching a lot of Ring of Honor shows, and this was like on it. So,
like, listen to Howard sing here. I hate how over the top he is.
It's so good. Well, you're gonna hate what I'm about to pick out next, because
are you gonna play Rose of Sharon?
Yeah, dude, that chorus is actually brilliant.
Hey, look, I'm not gonna lie though. I drilled this album. Like, I probably listened to it for a year straight. You know, like.
Oh, dude, that's the thing. Like, I love, like, because there's such a it's a very like commercial rock voice.
Yeah.
But underneath, it's still very heavy metalcore.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, Adam D's vocals too.
Who is a really underrated singer.
Great singer, and a big part of the band's sound too.
Yeah.
Like, they'll have a lot of songs where they'll end and Adam D will just do a vocal bit at the end, or he'll have his own little spotlight.
The guy's a machine.
Drummer, producer, singer, guitarist, 7-foot monster.
Superhero.
Superhero, exactly.
I miss Adam D, who used the tiny little Superman costume on stage.
What's funny, like, at the time, you listen to their lyrics, very emotional and, like, serious and heartfelt.
When you go see him live.
Yeah, exactly.
When, like, I remember...
Because I remember the live DVD came out of this, you know, and you watch it and you're like, oh, they're like, he's totally over the top.
Well, I remember, like, last year when they came out, he was wearing super tight tennis shorts, a cutoff, and a terry toweling sweatband. I'm like, this guy's the best.
Yeah, so that's always been the weird thing about their band, is that, you know, at one point super serious, but live, just a really fun, as good as anyone band.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on, we're powering through this. 2006 comes around, rolls around, and I feel like this is going to be an album we're going to talk about in length a little bit, because there was a lot to come from it. As Daylight Dies.
Yeah.
Probably Killswitch's biggest album. Arguably, I'll say arguably Killswitch's biggest album, because there was a lot of big songs to come from this, as well as the bonus edition, which is probably the one that we're going to talk about most. So obviously this is the intro track and the title track, As Daylight Dies. Heavy.
It is, but I remember when this album came out, I was looking forward to it. Having been a fan, I remember when the first single came out, My Curse, they released a different version.
Well, that's the thing I was going to get into. So, I feel like this is the version of My Curse that everyone knows.
Yep.
It's definitely the version I've always known. The one that was on Guitar Hero, the one that was on everything. It was on, Guitar Hero Rock Band. It was on Burnout Paradise.
One of those songs just used in everything.
Yeah, but like, so this song was massive, like absolutely massive. It it was it went, so the album itself went to number 32 on the Billboard charts and 29 on the ARIA charts here in Australia, which again, so it outranked the American charts, which is huge. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen very often with an American metal band, so it shows how big Killswitch have always been in Australia. But so Mike Hurst, it actually peaked at number 21 on the single rock charts in America. They did a radio edit of the song.
Yep. Clean vocals.
So what they did is they re-recorded the vocals with... It was just a completely clean song.
It's also slightly slower.
Yes.
The tempo is like slightly slower. So I was working at a radio station when this came out.
Okay.
And we got the promo copy from Roadrunner.
Oh, wow.
And I remember hearing it and thinking, and like even reviewing it on air and saying, oh, it seems like Killswitch are changing their sound. They're going with just clean vocals. And I liked it because at this time, we're about to hit peak metalcore in terms of...
Parkway Drive were just about to drop... Well, they've just dropped Killing With a Smile in 2005. Horizons is about to come out 10 months later.
Avenged Sevenfold blew up with City of Evil. Bullet for My Valentine released The Poison or whatever that massive album
August
was.
Burns Red were just coming through. Like this.
We had Shadows Fall at their peak when, because every band was big at that point.
And they were Shadows Fall members. I think they were in a couple of the older bands with Killswitch Engage members too, so they were brother bands.
Yeah, that Boston scene and whatever. And there were just so many bands. So it was like, well, someone's got to start breaking the formula. Avenged Sevenfold sort of did it by being a power metal band on City of Evil.
Yeah.
So I thought Killswitch were going to go with just clean vocals.
Yeah.
Turns out it was just a radio edit.
I
think they should have.
You sure reckon they should have just kept it?
I know a lot of fans would have thought, oh, they're selling out, they're just going for a hit, but it would have separated them.
Yeah.
Because you listen to the album, and 4 albums in by this point, even though it's 2 from Howard, 2 from Jesse, I think from this album it was all starting to sound a little formulaic. Still good, very good, and this still has some of their best songs.
Yeah.
My Curse, This Is Absolution.
Oh, dude.
This Is Absolution is a really good song. This is an awesome album.
Yeah, the song that I love heaps is Arm of Sorrow. Like, this really showcases his vocals.
Yeah.
Like, huge, like, massive verses, massive choruses. But again, listen to, like, the drumming in this is awesome. And it's still got your chuggy chords and stuff, like, your metalcore stuff. It's still a metalcore song, but it's just very, like, traditional metal vocals.
Yeah.
And I guess, we'll skip forward to this, if you want to talk about traditional metal, the bonus version of As Daylight Dies features probably one of my favourite covers ever.
An awesome cover of Holy Diver by Dio.
Sick cover.
This was played on like MTV Headbangers Ball, Channel V would play it all the time on their metal show.
I can imagine it was played at all the metal clubs in Melbourne at the time.
Oh, I would have gone off. You would have had the traditional older guys who would, I don't like it. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Howard Jones, but vocally, he's as good as anyone.
Also, let's just appreciate that little squealy. Oh, man. Adam Dean and his little pinch harmonics make my life go round.
You know what's funny? This actually charted too. The US mainstream rock charts at number 12. So this was a radio hit over in the States. It was, music TV hit here in Australia because we're not going to play it on the radio.
Yeah, so cool.
Again, sort of frustrating because if Killswitch committed to if they let Howard just sing...
Yeah, they could have been. Yeah, they could have been really, really big.
Because let's face it,
like mainstream rock wise, like worldwide.
Absolutely. And the other part of their sound, I guess we haven't touched on. That was a big cliche at the time too. Breakdowns.
Yeah,
all their songs had breakdowns.
Their breakdowns were very formulaic breakdowns.
They were, I know, and it sucks to say.
Yeah, it was very like breakdowny.
And after hearing it for like the early albums, especially Alive with Just Breathing.
Yeah.
By the time End of Heartache and As Daylight Dies comes around, and you're like, oh, guys, come on.
But I like what they did with this part of the song.
modernizing it with sort of a breakdown.
Yeah.
With him doing the harsh vocals, yeah. And they wouldn't normally do traditional guitar solos, especially early on. So this song is sort of a chance to show more of their shredding.
And shows how good, just how good this band, like musically, that's the thing, like when I played guitar heaps and heaps, Killswitch was the band I'm like, fuck, I need to try and learn this song. Like you'd like just like spend hours and hours each day trying to like master a Killswitch song. I got there a couple of times, but like, this shit's hard.
See, I reckon for me, that's what always frustrated me about them being a fan.
And there's that.
It was always knowing, like, do a solo. We know you can do it. Or like, you know, like, stop doing breakdown. I don't know. But that's just personal taste. Cool. Yeah, really good. But then again, it's kind of fun being a fan of theirs because you know they can do anything, but they just do what they sort of want. Yeah.
Love this part here too. But obviously you guys go, come on guys, you're a wrestling podcast. Where the fuck's the wrestling talk? Well, here is your wrestling talk. This Fire. Although the WWE called it This Fire, Burns was actually called This Fire.
I find that interesting too. When it was released on Reckless Intent, the WWE compilation album, where most people would have heard it, it is This Fire Burns.
Yeah, so it was... it's really funny, so this album was released in October, November 2006. But Randy Orton used this song for a week in March 2006 as his entrance song. He only used it once, but he used it.
Does that video exist on YouTube? I guess it'll be on the network now.
Yeah,
I wonder if they've re-recorded it.
We'll do some digging, and if we find something, we'll post it online on our socials throughout the week. So yeah, he used it for a week, and then it was released on Reckless Intent. But before that, it was actually used on the 2006 Judgment Day pay-per-view.
See, I didn't know that.
It was the official theme song. That pay-per-view, by the way, brilliant pay-per-view. The main event was JBL versus Rey Mysterio for the heavyweight title.
Yep.
When they had all those ref bumps and Charles Robinson took a huge bump because JBL attacked him, and Rey Mysterio retained his title. But that is a really important pay-per-view because it was the King of the Ring final. Bobby Lashley versus Booker T. So that was the birth of the King Booker gimmick.
Oh, which set off a great run on
Huge
SmackDown.
Run
so
for Booker
fun.
T.
I'm just looking at that card of that pay-per-view. What a weird show. Matt Hardy defeated Simon Dean.
Yeah.
Simon
in a dark
Dean.
match.
Kendrick and London versus Eminem. That was probably a good match.
The Hurricane, Gregory Helms at the time, but Hurricane versus Super Crazy, I remember, was a sick match because it was for the Cruiserweight title. And Super Crazy is a sick wrestler.
The Great Khali versus The Undertaker. Oh, God.
With Daivari as his manager.
Yes.
But I think, as I pointed out in our last episode, a lot of people know this because this was the first entrance song for CM Punk in WWE.
I love that they used it for Randy Orton, and then we're like, ooh, let's hang on to this though. Let's use it somewhere where.
But what I love is this is a bonus track. This is not actually on the album. This is not on As Daylight Dies.
I don't know if our bias is because we're wrestling fans, but this is a great song.
It's a fucking great song,
especially when it picks up and it's like the tempo is a bit faster for the end.
Yeah, we did come. I did have this in my top 5 last episode for favorite entrance songs, but like. The actual, as I said, the link to wrestling wasn't just CM Punk. This was as I said, it was a theme song for a pay-per-view, and it was used by Randy Orton for one episode of SmackDown.
The song was that good, they were like, we have to use it for something. So Punk debuted
2006.
Late 2006.
And he used this all the way to 2011, and then he started using Cult of Personality.
You know what's interesting? I remember when he started using it, and, I got a lot of friends who aren't metal fans at all. So many of them are like, oh, I love CM Punk's theme song. And it's like, yeah, these guys are like a really famous
huge metal band. Yeah.
It was really funny. I think it's such it gets you that it can win over non-fans, and it can play in a stadium with 80,000 people, and, they can get into it.
Absolutely. Now, moving on. Yeah, that album, I still listen to that album like at least once a week, or at least try to, because that album is brilliant.
I tried to listen to it this week.
Couldn't do it?
Couldn't do it.
Is it Howard Jones?
I prefer End of Heartache. I think that's a better album.
Okay.
As Daylight Dies has a few good songs, but I remember even at the time I was almost like, just Killswitch, just burnt out by them. I was like, come on, guys.
Nah, see, so the next album is one that I absolutely love. It did pretty well critically. It was... So this was Killswitch Engage self-titled. Their second self-titled album.
Yeah, they were like, guys, we're restarting.
Well, that's the thing. Like the second...
the
this is the opening track, Never Again. Very metal. But the second song on the album is called Starting Over.
So this was co-produced by Brendan O'Brien, though.
Yes. Yes, it was.
If you look at the bands he's worked with as a producer, engineer, like whatever, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Bruce Springsteen, AC/DC, Mastodon, Rage Against the Machine, Chili Peppers, everyone.
Yeah. So this album is one of the highest charting albums for the band. It peaked at number 7 on the Billboard charts. But crazily enough,
critics didn't like it, though.
It went to number 12 in Australia.
We loved it. Australia loves Killswitch.
Australia loves Killswitch Engage. But like critically, it did okay. It averaged like 3 stars.
I think coming off the back of Holy Diver sort of being a crossover hit, this charted so many places around the world. But I guess critically, people were sort of overhearing.
Yeah. Very commercial vocal, chorus vocal. But this is probably up there with one of my favourite Killswitch albums. I've always really enjoyed this album. I think because I remember this album coming out. So I would have been in year 8 when this album came out in 2009. So like for our American friends, like very junior high school pretty much.
Yeah.
And it was around like 2008, man. That was like, Parkway Drive, like August Burns Red, they were huge in Australia. Architects had just released their first album.
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, this was 2009.
2009?
Yeah, so 2009, yeah. So yeah, I would have been in year 8. But yeah, so like Parkway, August Burns Red, Misery Signals were still pretty big at the time too. Like, all those proper metalcore bands were like kind of surpassing Killswitch because they were going for the more traditional metal route.
Yeah. I think for me, by 2009, I was coming out of metalcore because I caught, I guess, the big first commercial wave.
Yeah.
So for me, being just drilled with these bands and Bullet for My Valentine and everyone was starting to try and like catch up with each other.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, but we'll have catchy choruses now. But we'll start playing solos. Maybe we'll play solos too.
Maybe we'll put breakdowns and solos in our breakdowns.
Yeah,
because that was
you
the
won't
thing
know.
as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then by that point though, not to talk about another band, but I think I had heard Fortress by Protest the Hero.
That would have been on its way out, yeah.
And I was like, so you can do other things, can you? With modern, being a young metal
And then when you've
band.
got Roddy Walker on vocals in that band, that's like the complete new age of fucking, of clean, like, scream singers.
Being able to do everything. Yeah, being able to do, like, I'm going to be harsh and clean, but I'm going to do everything. Yeah, I'm going to do everything.
But, this was our last album to feature Howard Jones on vocals.
I love that they were like, we're starting again, self-titled, blah, blah,
but
a new
Howard
beginning.
Jones left a year later.
Yeah, they're like, actually.
But this song actually features, like, honestly, hands down my favourite Killswitch Engage song, which is Take Me Away, purely for this guitar intro. I think this intro is fantastic. It's a 2.5-minute song, and I have always enjoyed this song greatly.
Damn, what a good intro. I haven't heard this album since it came out.
Really?
Basically. I remember hearing it and being like, no.
Yeah, no, I always have a lot of time for this album. Always have a lot of time for this album. Again, you can see where like the like that Stone Temple Pilots, like the influence from Brendan O'Brien kind of came in. Like that very like spaced out, very like empty verse.
Yeah, which he sort of did with Mastodon a lot too.
Yeah, very much so. But this chorus is huge. Doesn't oversing though.
Yeah, a little bit more restrained. It's got a very 90s rock feel.
Very much so, yeah. No, I love this album. I love this album. I love this song.
So at this time, I think it's important to talk about what was happening outside of the band.
Yep.
Because at this time, Jesse Leach had been out of the band for a while.
Yeah.
He was in the band Seamless, who I think are worth checking out because they're like a stoner rock traditional metal band, and you get to hear him do something different vocally.
Yeah.
But around this time, Adam D gets back surgery.
Yeah.
He gets in touch with Jesse, and they talk about working on new music together.
Yeah.
What's interesting, that sort of happened when everyone assumed Howard Jones is still in Killswitch.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. After Howard leaves, the band take a pretty decent more or less a hiatus.
Pretty
They
much.
don't do anything. They they don't release an album for over 4 years.
Yeah, and in that time, Adam D reunites with Jesse to work on Times of Grace.
And we'll play a track
We should.
from Times of Grace.
It's a two-man band. And I think to a lot of people, they thought, well, what's the difference between this and Killswitch? To me, Times of Grace, I really like this album because this sounded like Killswitch pre-Howard.
Yeah. I love how on Wikipedia it has like the timeline. It's like lead vocals in red of Jesse Leach, Adam D in purple, all instruments.
That's another cool thing about this album.
He played every instrument on this album. But it's kind of like it sounds like a B-sides Killswitch album, which isn't a bad thing.
No, it's just another Killswitch album with Jesse. It's great.
Yeah.
I loved it when it came out. I was like, cool.
I do remember this coming out. I would have been like middle, like year 10 or 11. I'm like, this is pretty sick.
And Jesse's vocals, I think from his time in Seamless,
Really
carried
matured.
over to this too. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you get that more like, I guess, traditional metal vocals, a bit raspier.
It sounds very Mastodon-like.
Sort of like fuzzed out vocals.
Even musically, like the main riff sounds very just like,
But then the chorus is just straight up Killswitch.
which I fucking love. Is it? I haven't listened to this album for a long time. I
It's
forget how
good.
good it is. Yeah,
And
they're supposedly writing a new album.
and a great showcase for Adam D to just be like, look, I can play everything.
Yeah, I'm actually a machine. Okay,
And they both trade off vocals a lot on this album, which is fun too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, not long after... basically at the same time, Howard Jones leaves Killswitch.
Yeah, so this was released in 2011. Howard Jones left Killswitch like late 2010.
What a confusing...
It's a confusing timeline, isn't it?
It really is.
But then, I guess that was kind of a good... Because it means Times of Grace did their thing for a couple years, and then Jesse Leach rejoins Killswitch Engage. And I remember hearing this for the first time. So this is The Hell in Me. It's the first song of Disarmed Descent. So it was the first album with Jesse on vocals for 11 years. And it was a lot heavier, darker metalcore than what had been. You could tell that they were kind of like, they were yearning to go, we want to go back to our roots. Because like, obviously, as we said, Killswitch kind of went that more commercial metal route with Howard, and especially in that last Killswitch on like that self-titled 2009 album.
They pushed it too far.
This is super dark, like metalcore.
This feels like it could have been the next album after Alive or Just Breathing.
Easily.
You're like, cool, it just continues.
It was kind of like where they took off where they left.
Yeah. I was happy to hear it. I remember when this came out, I was like,
I
thank
loved
God.
it, man. Yeah, this was awesome. I remember I was 2013, I was year 12, like final year of high school. I'm like, yeah, this is sick. I'm like, when these guys come to Australia, I'm going to go see them. Because I'm 18, I can see them.
I'm glad they did too, because I feel like Jesse Leach was being lost to history. 3 albums with Howard Jones, breaking through with a few singles. Holy Diver became a hit. Everyone was like, Killswitch, that's that band with that guy who sings good. I was like, but they had this other guy who was really good too.
And then he comes back and they've released this absolute fucking mammoth of an album.
And it wasn't anything that people brushed over. It got really good reviews. Debuted at number 6 on the ARIA charts, 15 in the UK.
That's crazy.
Number 7 on the Billboard 200.
6 in Canada, number 8 in Finland, which obviously
They like metal.
It's a metal country, but 6 in Australia, that's fucking crazy, isn't it?
So they pretty much just picked up where they left off in terms of... actually, picked up commercial success again.
So this went number 7 in America on the Billboards, number 7 on the digital charts, number 1 on the hard rock charts, number 1 on the rock charts, number 1 on their Tastemaker albums. Well, I don't know what the fuck that means, but, like, this album was huge. And I remember because they played one of the last shows I saw at the Palace.
Oh, I missed the tour of this one.
Because they toured with... what was Rex Brown's... They toured with a band that Rex Brown's in.
Not his solo band, which he's in now.
Yeah.
One of his other bands.
I forget.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was early 2014. It was my first year. It was my first year of university. For those playing at home.
I feel like this album, they were sort of trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
It was like, we've got Jesse back. We're not continuing what we did with that self-titled album.
Yep.
It's heavier again. Still super catchy, though.
Yeah.
For example, the single, In Due Time, great song, played on, all your metal TV shows.
That's a Killswitch riff.
Yeah. This was a bit more like To What You Know, classic Killswitch. Nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah.
They played this as part of their, bonus set when they toured Alive or Just Breathing too.
I remember, yeah.
I think this song will hang around in their set list.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, I guess, a modern classic of theirs.
Jesse Lynch has stated that the video's concept was inspired by early Foo Fighters.
Oh, interesting.
I can't remember the video.
Man, it's a good one, though.
Again, and they went back to just Adam D producing the music, and you can really tell as well.
That was probably an important thing to do, too.
Yeah. Yeah, this is such a sick chorus.
And again, this was where they could mess with the formula. This does have a guitar solo near the end.
Yeah.
So, what is traditional sounds different for Killswitch, so it's cool.
Yeah. Now, moving on, they go to 2016, and an album that I was very happy that was released because it did really well commercially, but I liked it as well. Incarnate, I guess it is the latest Killswitch album. I haven't released one since.
And interestingly, another big hit worldwide. So even though things...
So this is Strength of Mind. This was the first single.
A little bit different.
Very Pantera-y, like Southern.
Yeah, the riff is a little bit...
But yeah, this one, again, number 5 here in Australia. Killswitch is just fucking huge in this country.
We love them.
They went and went number 6 in the Billboard charts. Like... crazy.
I think people were just all in. Jesse came back and it was like, this is Killswitch now. And a lot of good singles from this album, though.
Yeah. But as you said, they kept a lot of these songs in the set list too.
Strength of the Mind, Hate by Design, and Cut Me Loose stand strong next to any of their other songs because they're heavy enough.
When I first heard this song, I'm like, holy shit, this is huge.
Yeah. And then I guess, if anyone, like sort of what you said, the choruses with Howard were always huge and massive. Yeah. I think they captured it with Jesse on these 2 albums now.
Yeah. As I said last episode, and I do say it a lot, if you do, I honestly believe that if you, just molded Jesse Leach and Howard Jones together, you'd literally have the most perfect metal vocalist ever. Because they're both incredibly good clean singers. Jesse is obviously a better harsh vocalist than Howard, but he still holds his own. So if you molded them together, it is literally the most unstoppable vocalist in metal.
Man, it's so good. I can just keep listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Jesse's voice, even though he's not technically a better singer. I think he's got a great voice.
The album went to number 1 on the rock charts and hard rock charts as well, and it sold 33,000 copies in its first week in America.
That's good for a modern metal band. That's as good as you're going to get, basically.
And 2016, that's again, streaming was full force, so if you're still selling albums, that many albums too,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, check out this chorus, so good. It's sort of everything they've learned over the past 20 years. It's all filtered into perfect Killswitch now. Yeah. It's not too cheesy, it's not too heavy, it's not too anything anymore.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I think it's kind of cool that, a lot of fans have sort of turned on Avenged Sevenfold. Trivium have had a patchy career. Bullet for My Valentine peaked early and dropped off to a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah.
Shadows Fall, we don't hear from them. A lot of those bands...
dude, I wish Shadows Fall released a new album.
Shadows Fall technically were very good. They were a great band. They were really
Yeah.
good. But a lot of those bands sort of, God forbid, what happened to God forbid?
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Like, there was this whole era of metalcore that a lot of fans from their 20s to their probably mid-30s have all went through phases with.
Yeah.
But for Killswitch to be able to come back with these two albums, commercial hits, critical hits, big tours, I think that shows.
It's funny how you say come back, but like... As
it's not really a comeback.
It's not really a comeback because like they didn't go anywhere. It's just like, I guess, like go back to their original sound, so to speak.
In a way, yeah. What's old is new again.
They didn't depart entirely, but there was definitely like a difference.
Whatever it is, it's and I hope people have listened to this if they're not big Killswitch Engage fans. Because I want to know, are they hearing all these clips of the songs with different vocalists and different albums and they're like, it all sounds the same to me. I don't understand. I don't care. There is a difference between the two when they have a different vocalist.
There really is.
There's a vibe.
Like, as you can hear, like this is super dirty, really like gritty metal, and like with how it's more like...
And again, traditional solos in the past two albums, which I think it's funny, something they didn't want to do because it was considered traditional, has dated those albums, and now putting a solo back in, it's cool as shit.
Now, just before we wrap up, around this time, that 2015, 2016, the greatest thing in American television happened. We will share this online because everyone has to see it. Adam D was on The Price is Right in America.
Yes.
And he won everything. Like, I remember my brother messaged me. I was at a class at uni. He's like, dude, stop what you're doing and watch this. Sends me an episode of The Price is Right. I'm like, why am I watching? He's like, just watch it. And Adam D gets called down to The Price is Right, makes his way down in like, probably like knee-high socks, short, like Adam D wear flip-flops and everything.
Classic.
And like, he wins everything. And Drew Carey was the host of Price is Right. No idea what was going on.
Yep.
It's just, I will share this online because it's honestly my favorite thing to ever happen to this world.
He's so good.
He's so funny. He won like 2 cars and like a camper trailer and like a holiday. He won so much shit.
It's amazing. Before we move on, and because I feel like there's probably going to be some fans who are like, ugh, but there's more to their wrestling side. Mike D, the bassist from Killswitch, massive wrestling fan, probably a big part of why that's happened.
Yep.
I've just pulled up an interview he did a few years ago where he spoke about, how it happened with Killswitch, being used as fire burns.
Yeah.
So he did explain that before Punk got the WWE to license Cult of Personality, Punk was pushing Killswitch to record a cover for him to use.
No shit.
So while you rank both those songs separately for Punk in last week's episode, what if there was a Killswitch cover of Cult of Personality?
Could you imagine Howard Jones singing that song?
Would have been kind of interesting. Awesome. Actually, would have been in 2011 when they were going through vocalists who would have recorded it.
Actually, I reckon Jesse Leach could have done pretty... But imagine, I think Howard Jones...
He would have. He would have done really well.
It would have been... That's really cool, though. Imagine that. Oh, that's like my wildest dream, my wildest wet dreams coming true.
That would have been really cool. And then a few years later, and it's a shame this never happened, in 2016, Mike D claimed that the WWE asked him to record, or Killswitch to record a couple of new theme songs for wrestlers.
Oh, no way.
And fans have speculated for a while, what wrestler would it have been? I think we all like to think it probably would have been Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
Especially considering it was 2016.
Yeah, and imagine his current song, that Second Coming song with a Killswitch song though.
Yeah.
Would have been very, very cool.
Yep, would have had some vocals. It would have had, more
and as I said,
than just
he's
one
used
riff.
2 or 3 Killswitch songs in the past, so it's like a match made in heaven.
He plays coin. He's like, no, I like my theme song. It's fine how it is. But we know
you want a Killswitch song. Maybe we should try and get Mike on there. We should try and get Old Mate on the podcast.
We really should. And go in depth.
Yeah,
they're big wrestling fans. We're big Killswitch fans.
Let's see what happens.
And we're at the point now where Killswitch is working on a new Killswitch album.
Which is exciting.
And a new Times of Grace album.
Yep.
Which I didn't think they would do another Times of Grace album. I thought that felt like a teaser just to get back into what they were doing with Jesse.
Yeah.
But they said that's going to be really different, which is cool. But really exciting for the new Killswitch album.
Yep.
This is going to make every fan happy. And, it's not a feud or anything. They're all still mates.
Yeah.
This is going to be the first time they teased it online that Howard is singing on a song with Jesse. They're in the studio. This happened.
Imagine that. I cannot wait to hear that because Light the Torch or Devil You Know, that's what they were used to. They just released an album. That's Howard's current band. They're not bad, but that gets me going. The fact that, as I said, mold them together. It's a perfect vocal combination.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited to hear it. I hope they trade off harsh vocals and clean vocals.
Yeah, and could you imagine? Now we're just fantasy the entire song, but imagine the vocal harmony.
Yeah,
the clean harmonies with because Howard can go really high as well.
Yeah, he can.
So if you've got Jesse singing a low harmony, Howard singing the high harmony. Fuck. This is everything I've ever wanted in a metalcore song.
And then Adam D, of course, doing his backing vocals too.
Yeah, and some ridiculous high need running dance bullshit in the background.
So that's pretty cool. Their 8th album, which is crazy.
Absolutely wild.
But looking forward to that one.
Anyway, that was heaps of fun. That was a very last minute decision to do this episode. We were what should we do? Let's talk about Killswitch.
Yeah, pretty much for the music fans. Hopefully, if you weren't the biggest Killswitch fan,
but there was a bit of wrestling talk. As I said, a lot of people would know this fire as punk, but it was used quite a few times.
Randy Orton as a theme song for a pay-per-view.
For Judgment Day, yeah. And then you've got the whole Roderick Strong link there as well, who again, we could easily just do it a mini episode on Roderick Strong. That guy's a metal. He's used Misery Signals, Marilyn Manson. He's used so many awesome metal bands as his entrance songs over the years.
He loves it. It's funny that those guys from that time and that era, they all sort of use Killswitch at different times.
Yeah.
That Ring of Honor early 2000s sort of vibe.
Yeah, because that's Killswitch was huge.
Yeah.
They were massive, so.
It is kind of fun that a band that I discovered when I was a teenager, we can sit here and talk about them and they are a classic band now.
It's really funny. I'm 22. I discovered Killswitch Engage when I was... I was probably 10 or 11 because my older brother was massive into them.
Yeah.
So I've been listening to Killswitch for over 10 years now, and I'm only 22 years old.
So there you go. We'll wrap it up. Killswitch Engage, one of the best bands of the past 2 decades.
Easily.
They've got the staying power. They've got a damn good track record. Listen to all their albums. Everyone prefers
they
a
got a
different
new
one.
one coming out soon.
Hopefully, check them out live, and I'm sure this makes us all miss CM Punk.